What's up, everybody? I'm James Withy, and today we're going to talk about why talented people don't believe in talent. So basically what I'm going to talk about, like I just said a second ago, wait a second, should I introduce myself first? Yeah. All right, so for those of you that don't know, I'm James Withy. I'm a professional tattooer. I'm going to post up a couple pictures of my tattoos and shit here because I ain't got no intro or nothing like that. We just keep it real simple these days around here. And if you want to check out more pictures of my tattoos and keep up with my life, with my stories and all that shit on Instagram, then go ahead and follow me on there. It's at James Withy Tattoo. But yeah, this video, basically what I'm gonna be talking about today is the concept of talent and why people that get called talented by other people don't believe in or subscribe to the idea of talent. This video is something that I've been kind of thinking about making for a really long time, but I just didn't really know how to organize the information or discuss it in a way that's like a non-rambling way and actually has like some sort of a point that's easy to understand and comprehend for people. But I feel like I got a pretty good handle on how I'm gonna do that today. So essentially the way I'm gonna organize this video is first I'm gonna talk about how people get good at things that require skill. And then I'm gonna talk about how subscribing to the idea or believing in the idea of talent can be counterproductive to that process of how you get good at things. And then I'm gonna talk about why, if you're a creative professional, you should probably erase the word talent from your vocabulary and just forget that it exists. Now, the reason I'm making this video is because I feel like artists that are skilled, like particularly tattooers like that I know, that I've worked with in the past, that I work with now, and myself included, we get called talented quite a bit by people that are like clients or friends and family or acquaintances, strangers, whatever. Like people kind of use the word talented quite a bit and throw that around when they're describing us and when they're complimenting us. But when people say that we're talented, it sounds weird to us because in our minds, we really don't think that we are. And the reason that we don't think that we're talented is because when people say that like when people imply that we just have some sort of like a God-given gift at whatever we're doing, like at least for me, the image or the images of all the different things that I've done in the past to get good at tattooing or art or whatever endeavors that I'm trying to gain skill at, all those images just flood through my mind. And I can just think of all those different times that I was practicing or obsessing over something, learning, researching on the internet, going to school, doing all that sort of shit. You know, taking art history classes and thumbing through Instagram and zooming in on pictures and trying to get inspired or pick apart and analyze some sort of method that another artist used. Like all those different things that I've done over the course of years and years and years repeatedly flood through my mind. And to me, it doesn't seem like there's any sort of like talent or like natural skill or anything to it. It just seems to me like I put in a lot of work and focused on it a lot and practiced a lot and then got good at it. And I think for every creative professional that I know personally, it's kind of the same way, where when people describe us as talented, we definitely appreciate the compliment and it feels good to get that external validation. But when we first hear that word and people calling us that, it seems almost like an inaccurate observation of why we are where we are skill level wise or notoriety wise or whatever it is, you know what I mean? So today my goal is for anybody viewing this video that hasn't had this paradigm shift yet to maybe help to facilitate it in some people where it's like laying dormant, that the idea of being talented and that being the reason why you get good at something and gaining a tremendous amount of skill at whatever kind of craft or activity or, you know, that sort of thing that you want to get good at. I want to shift that paradigm and make it so that people understand that they can get good at something just by practicing it, just by being interested in it, just by caring about it a lot. And it's not necessarily something where people are born with it or they're born without it. Because I feel like earlier in my life that held me back quite a bit from practicing art and wanting to get good at it, because I thought that there was like a ceiling on how good I could get because how good I was in the beginning didn't represent what I would consider somebody that would be like a talented individual. I sucked at drawing when I first started. I sucked at tattooing when I first started. And pretty much, you know, I can guarantee that anybody that you look up to artistically also sucked when they first started. And as soon as I realized that just kind of like working hard and staying focused and being interested in a certain activity would make it so that I repetitively do it and incrementally get better at it, that's when everything kind of changed for me. And it opened up the possibility that I could do something like tattooing professionally and not have to work like a regular 9-to-5 job. I could just do some shit that I enjoy for the rest of my life. So that was a really important moment, and I'm hoping that this video helps people have the same sort of realization that I had back then. Okay, so that kind of brings me to my first like little bullet point that I'm going to talk about here, which is how people get good at things, right? I used to think that when people are good at drawing, it's just because they have a steady hand or they have like a natural like way that their mind works that makes it so that they're good at that shit, like just picking up the pencil and just letting it flow like naturally or whatever. And you know, a lot of that comes from not really seeing the work that they put in to get good at what they do. But a lot of it also comes from like just the way they look. Like when I see people that are good at drawing, most of the time they're just chilling and they're just all relaxed or whatever, and it looks effortless for them. But that doesn't necessarily mean they didn't put any effort in when they were working their way up to that ability to do it effortlessly, right? So you got to work hard to make it look easy, is what I'm trying to say. So the way people get good at things is obviously through practice and repetition, right? Like Lil Wayne, there's a lyric from some song on the Carter 3 that always pops into my mind where he says, repetition is the father of learning. And with making music or rapping or whatever, it's probably exactly the same as it is with making art, like visual art, tattooing and all that shit. Because I mean, like, think about Lil Wayne, if we use him as an example again. The first time I heard Lil Wayne was like on some Hot Boys bling bling shit, and that fool fucking sucked at rapping back then. But he ended up, you know, putting in the time ever since he was a teenager and really being dedicated to it, focused to it. He was in the right environment where he was surrounded by people that were making music. That helps to keep his interest captivated. You know, he went to art school to like just kind of figure out how to become more creative and learn more about the process of creating something in general, just any type of art. And then just incrementally got better and better until eventually he was one of the best rappers out there, right? So the same type of thing applies if you're doing pretty much any creative activity. And I think that what it really boils down to is repetition is the father of learning, and the more you do something, the better you get at it. But the only way you can do something enough to get really, really great at it and be considered a talented person is to have a passion for it. And that passion isn't always a passion. It starts as just an interest, right? So that's kind of how it worked for me. Like when I first started doing art and drawing or whatever, it was just like a general interest. I was just trying to like pass the time or whatever, and you know, dabble here and there, make a couple little drawings here and there. But the more I did it, the more it started becoming like something that I wanted to do over and over. It started becoming like a real hobby, something enjoyable for me. And that enjoyability ended up kind of making it so I did it even more. And then after I did it even more, I got a little bit better. And then it started making me think, well, fuck, how good can I get at this? And then I started liking it a lot, and it became a passion. And then that passion ended up becoming an obsession. And that's when it gets to the level to where it's like, okay, well, now your obsession can become your profession, if that makes any sense. So what I'm trying to say is that people get good at things by practicing, and people want to practice things because they enjoy doing them. So maybe that's kind of where the talent comes in, is like, you know, you have some sort of like an aptitude, like you're capable of being interested in this activity or whatever and turning it into an obsession. You're capable of doing it hours on end without getting bored. If talent is anything, that's what it is. So I know this is kind of off topic, but I feel like this is important to say, that if you haven't found an activity that's like that yet in your life, then it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not out there. Like, you just have to try more things. And the more like activities you expose yourself to, eventually, in my opinion, I feel like for everybody out there, there's something that they can bite into, that they can stand and even enjoy and even crave to practice over and over and over until they become tremendously skilled at it. All right, so next I'm going to talk about how subscribing to the idea of talent can be counterproductive to the process of getting good at something. The reason that I think that believing that you are talented can be counterproductive to the process of you getting good at something is because of my own life experience. Like throughout my life, I've taken a lot of art classes, and there was times in life when I sucked at art, and there was times in life when, I was getting a little bit better at it and just barely kind of interested as a hobby. There was times in life where I took it really seriously, including now. But throughout that entire journey, I've met a lot of people that were considered talented, and I've met a lot of people that were not considered talented, and seeing like where they all kind of ended up as time went on and everything unfolded. That's what kind of makes me believe that if you believe that you're talented, that you're probably not going to get very far. Because like, I don't know, we'll use like a painting class, for example, or a drawing class or something. Oftentimes in all the classes I've taken throughout my life, like whether it's high school or college, oftentimes there'll be a group of people that will all start off, drawing or painting. We'll use painting because that's like something that's new for people usually. There'll be like a group of people that will start painting, and out of that group of people, everybody has zero experience. And out of that group of people, there'll be one like portion of them that seems to be naturally good at it, and their paintings are already looking pretty decent, like right off the bat. And then there's other people where they're just average, and there's other people that are really terrible at it, and none of their paintings are really worth looking at in the beginning. And this group of people that started off like kind of above average, a lot of them ended up kind of being in a situation where as the semesters progressed onward, they weren't really growing as fast as some of the other people that at first really didn't look like they had a grasp on what they were doing. And I personally think that a big part of it comes from those people kind of believing, because other people are either praising them or because they're praising themselves, they're believing like, oh, well, I kind of have this in the bag and I don't really have to work hard to keep on growing at the same rate or whatever, like the same trajectory. Whereas this other group of people that are either average or below average, because nobody's calling them talented and because they're probably not calling themselves talented, that kind of opens up the door in your mind for you to be able to step through and think, okay, well, what's next then? What's next is I got to work my ass off if I want to get good at this. So because that kind of mindset is ingrained in them from early on, they, in my opinion, tend to have more potential for progression when you're playing the long game, like years down the road or whatever. Because there's a lot of people that were in those classes that I didn't really look at their paintings or think they were anything, worth studying or even talking to them about at first, because I'm like, oh, I don't want to say anything bad, so I'm just going to walk past it and keep my mouth shut. Some of those people, as the semesters progressed onward, I was like, damn, like your shit is getting really fucking good. And I guarantee that it's because those people were practicing more than the people that got praised in the beginning and had really great looking paintings in the beginning compared to everybody else. As a matter of fact, I mean, that kind of happened to me. Like I was, already pretty good at drawing, and I was already in the very beginning stages of like professional tattooing when I first started taking painting classes. And I was really expecting myself, this is kind of like a strange thing to talk about, because I was expecting myself to be good at painting right away because I was already pretty good at drawing. So when I wasn't, I was really like pissed off and disappointed. And I can remember times when one time I drove home from the painting class with all my painting gear in my car, and I was like screaming at myself like a fucking psycho in the car with like my face turning all red on the way home and shit. And then after I got home, I was still all angry, and I fucking like got all my stuff out of my car and I put it in my little shitty apartment, and I set it all up in my kitchen again, and then I painted until 3 a.m. because I thought like, this can't be it. Like I can't be the motherfucker that sucks. And I feel like that's the kind of attitude, not necessarily like an angry ass attitude like I had back then, or maybe even still have sometimes now. You don't got to be all aggressive about it with yourself like how I am or whatever. But having that attitude of like, you know what, I'm going to put in more time. And if I put in more time and effort, then I'm going to get better at this. It doesn't matter where I'm at right now. I can get to where I want to go if I just do the fucking work. Having that attitude is what makes everybody that's great, great. And like I said, if you believe that you're talented, or if you believe when other people say that you're talented, it's really difficult to have that sort of attitude. And that's why I think it's counterproductive to the process of becoming someone that gets called talented. All right, so in the third part of this video, we are going to talk about why if you're a creative professional, you should probably erase the word talent or talented from your vocabulary. Like, and what I mean by that, like, it's pretty self-explanatory at this point, right? But what I mean by that is, like, in your head and out loud, you shouldn't be using the word talented when you describe yourself or other people. And the reason that I think that is because when you use the word talented to describe yourself, you're telling yourself, I don't have to work hard to get better. And that when you're using the word talented to describe other people, you are essentially saying they didn't have to work hard to get to where they were at, or they had to work less hard than what I will have to get to where they were at. And really what it boils down to is that's just an excuse for like trying to level your perception of where somebody's at, like in relation to where you're at or whatever, right? And this is something that's really hard to admit to yourself. Probably, maybe a lot of people are gonna be fucking mad that I'm even saying this and using the you word and shit, like while I'm, describing all this shit. But this is stuff that I've said to myself, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta really get rid of that word and erase it from your vocabulary, not use it, don't make any more excuses up, and understand that everybody that is where they're at in terms of skill level deserves to be at that skill level. And once you understand that, then, and have that paradigm shift, then it allows you to have the same mindset as them, and then you can get to whatever skill level you want to get to at whatever craft you want to get good at, right? So, I mean, with that in mind, I guess I wouldn't even say that this is like only advice for creative professionals. This is good advice, in my opinion, for anybody that wants to get very good at anything, like anything that requires skill, anything that, you can really like get very, very good at with a high ceiling on the potential for how great you can be at something. Any activity like that, you're gonna fucking end up getting further if you have that sort of mindset to where it's pretty much like, all right, well, you get out what you put in. So the more effort, the more time, the more work I put in, the more dedication, the more time I spend thinking about all this shit, then the better I'm gonna get at it. And I feel like that's the reason I made this video, is because I'm trying to help people realize that and have that paradigm shift if they're meant to be the ones that realize that and hear that, right? So that's about it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If anybody has any additional input on this subject, I would definitely like to hear it in the comment section, regardless of their profession, but especially from tattooers that are out there. Most people that I know, they don't like the idea of talent or subscribe to it, and they kind of shut that out of their mind. They learn to ignore the praise, and they learn to ignore the hate, or at least take it all with a grain of salt or whatever, and really hold themselves accountable for how much work they're putting in to getting better at the art. So if you're a tattooer, then I'd like to hear your perspective on that. And if it differs, then that's cool too. Just try to be respectful. But either way, if you guys like the video, go ahead and drop a thumbs up. Really appreciate you guys giving me the freedom with all the comments on my last video to just make random ones like this, where they're a little bit maybe more philosophical in nature. But in either case, have a good night. I'll see you. Okay, so now that we're at the end, there is one more thing that I want to mention, and that's that this video is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community that has thousands of different classes for creators, and it's a really great way to explore new skills and beef up your knowledge and ability in whatever creative endeavor you choose. The types of classes that you can take on Skillshare are really wide in variety, and they include stuff like freelancing, fine art, videography, filmmaking, all sorts of stuff. One of the classes specifically that I liked when I was looking through the Skillshare website was one called Start Drawing, Techniques for Pencil Portraits, taught by a person named Gabrielle Bricky. One thing I really liked about this course specifically was that she's really comprehensive in the way that she explains everything in terms of how to draw a pencil portrait. So she covers different materials you'll need to start the process, specific techniques that you might be using when you're drawing pencil portraits. And also one thing that I really, really liked was that she covered the anatomy of the human face, which is super important if you want to be a good portrait artist, to know where those anatomical landmarks are, so that you can kind of recognize them more easily when you're matching information from the reference to the actual art you're creating. So overall, Skillshare is a really great learning tool, regardless of your current level of skill, whether or not you're a novice or whether or not you're intermediate or advanced. And it's really great because there's no ads, and they're also constantly putting on new material onto the website so that there are new classes for you to continue your learning. The first 1,000 people that click on the link in the description of this video are going to get a 1-month free trial membership of Skillshare. And go ahead and try it out and see if you like it. Hopefully you benefit from it. Thanks for watching.